Greetings, children, and welcome to my chamber. My name is Rotherick Ghastblood, and I'm your host of Tales from the Dark Chamber. This week, we have a great show for you. Tales to make your skin crawl. Each week, my chambermate and I read a scary tale that we found on the internet, or perhaps left under some corpse. Either way, we think you're going to like it, and we're just dying for you to hear it. So sit right back, light a candle, and let's have a ghoul evening.
Oh, wow. What a storm tonight, eh, Rotherick?
Yes, lovely, isn't it?
Violent, I would say. I mean, I do like rain and all, but the lightning really gets me.
Yes, I know what you mean. I do like the rain and all, but the lightning really gets to me.
Only you, Rotherick. And it wouldn't be any easier if it weren't for the... Hey, Rotherick, did you see something out there?
Where?
Out past the moat, right at the edge of the fields. Right about... there. Did you see it?
No. What am I supposed to be looking for? Your long-lost ninny brother?
No. There was a figure out there. A shadow or something like that. It was moving.
Perhaps you are seeing some sort of an illusion.
Nah, it was there. I swear. I saw some... There. Did you see it?
Again? No. Nothing out there but the wind and the rain and the... lightning.
Jeez, Rotherick, you need to get your eyes checked. There it is. There, and it's getting closer.
Woody, I think your eyes are playing tricks on you again. Remember that humongous spider that was...
No, Rotherick, this is no trick. I definitely saw something. Something like...
Ah! Oh, Woody, it's just Chester, the groundskeeper. He's probably out in the cold. Let's go let him in. Ah, Chester, come in. You must be soaking wet.
Thank you, Master Ghastblood. I was just outside in the fields, tending to the mole traps, when the rain started. Much obliged to you for letting me in like this.
Oh, think nothing of it. Chester, this is Woody, my chambermate.
Hello, Woody. Pleased to make your acquaintance on this most horrible of evenings.
Yeah, Chester, nice to meet you, too. I never knew that we had a...
Oh, yes, sir. I've been in the employ of Master Ghastblood for about 15 years now. Nice chap Master Ghastblood is. But under the circumstances, I need to inform the Master that the scarecrow has gone missing. My speculation would have it that the wind blew him off.
No worries, Chester. We'll dig up another one. From the storage shed, of course.
All right, then. Well, pleased to meet you, Woody. And don't forget to stop over to the ground shed for a visit, eh?
You got it. But that does remind me of tonight's story. As we continue with ToMmY, we find that the old Harrison farm is full of surprises in ToMmY, Part 3. Enjoy. ToMmY, a Portland, Maine series, by Medicman, Part 3. Over the next hour, Sarah had brought in the last of the boxes and then made lunch for the both of them. She had placed an old handmade blanket down on the floor for them to eat on. As they ate, Sarah had spoken of all the new things she wanted them to do in their new home. For a moment, Danny had forgotten how miserable he was, and he chomped down on his food. The sun had fallen down behind some clouds, casting a dark hue to the atmosphere. The air cooled some. It was a nice change from the terrible heat. Sarah had wiped her mouth and peeked out of the window to see the thick dark clouds rolling in fast. "Huh, the old lady was right after all. It's going to rain," she said. "But Mom, what about the moving truck? I guess they're going to have to move our stuff in the rain. I hope they bring tarps. I'd hate for our tables to get wet. Those were expensive," she scowled. Sarah sat back down to finish her sandwich when there was a sudden loud knock on the door. She got up and made her way to the front door, expecting the moving truck. Instead, a small blonde-headed woman with a rather large man stood there looking at her curiously. "Hi, I hope we're not intruding. My name's Tracy. This here is Tony. We work with Station 5 Local News. May we have just a moment of your time?" Sure. What's this all about?" Sarah asked, puzzled. "I was hoping to film a small segment on the farm with the new owners." "Are you who I should be talking with?" Tracy said. "I am, yes. My name is Sarah, and my son is Danny. We just got here not long ago. We were actually expecting a moving truck. You didn't happen to see one, did you?" "No, sorry." "Well, come in. We just finished eating. You'll have to excuse the mess. I hope you don't mind sitting on boxes. It's all we have until the truck arrives," Sarah said. "Oh, no, not at all. I understand how moving can be," Tracy said happily as her and Tony slowly made their way inside behind Sarah. Danny peeked up from the blanket at the strangers with a look of concern on his face. Tony was a scary-looking man. His rough features and unkempt beard reminded him of bikers. Tony flashed a warm smile at Danny, and Danny felt his heart sink in his chest. "So, where do you guys come from?" Tracy asked. "Iowa," Sarah replied, sliding some boxes into the living room to accommodate the new guests. "Oh, wow, that's a cruise," Tracy said, alarmed. "Yes, but I'm happy to be here. Portland seems like a nice place. It's quite a change." "I've always wanted to live near the ocean," Sarah replied. "Yeah, it's a small place, but we have plenty of excitement, that's for sure. You definitely picked a good time to come." "Had it been a month ago, you may have left," Tracy laughed. "Oh, why is that?" Tony quickly jabbed Tracy in the ribs to shut her up. She ignored him. "Well, my profession sees an awful lot of drama. Nothing happens here I don't know about. It's a peaceful place for the most part, but when stuff does happen, it's pretty bad. Well, unfortunately, you can't keep all crime away, even from the best of cities," Sarah said. "True, yes. This, though, was something I'll never forget. There was a double homicide on Route 40. Danny, would you go get our guest something to drink, please?" Sarah interrupted. Danny frowned, clearly interested in what Tracy was saying. He slowly got up and made his way into the kitchen and out of earshot. "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not used to being around children. Excuse me," Tracy apologized. "It's okay. Danny has been through a lot. I just don't want him being any more stressed than he already is. This move wasn't easy for him." "I imagine not. I'm curious, though. Why here, if you don't mind me asking?" Tracy asked. "We wanted to get away. I always wanted to be by the ocean. Plus, the farmhouse was a good deal, and the place seemed more what Danny and I need right now," Sarah said. "Yeah, well, that brings me to why we're here. We want to shoot a segment about you and Danny. We just want a brief story about who you are and what plans you may have with the farm. Residents are intrigued about its new owners. This is a small place after all, and you know how small cities can be. This would be a perfect introduction," Tracy says with a smile on her face. "Mom, we have no cups." "What box are they in?" Danny yells from the kitchen. "By the sink. Grab some glasses and bring that bottle of wine off the counter," Sarah yelled back to him. "I'm sure you have questions as to why. The Harrison farm hasn't sold since the owners passed. It was a tragedy, to say the least. I believe this interview would give hope to those who remember the Harrison family," Tracy said. "Well, that would explain why it was cheap, I guess. I didn't really think anything of it. What happened to them?" "Julia, our neighbor, met us when we pulled up. She said something about Harrison's son getting sick?" Sarah asked. Tracy frowned. "Yes, that's the partial story. Danny returned with the glasses and wine. He handed them out and then gave the bottle of wine to his mother. He went to sit back down when Sarah stopped him. "Danny, would you mind putting your boxes in the bedroom?" "I'd rather you not hear this," she said. He frowned and then slowly complied. He knew the conversation was something bad. To avoid an argument, he bit his tongue and bitterly walked off towards the foyer. Sarah opened the wine and poured 3 glasses. Tony politely declined. Sarah decided she would have his share as well. She didn't like where this was heading. "What happened?" she cautiously asked. "Well, that's the thing. Nobody knows the truth. There's only speculation. Imaginations tend to run wild in small cities. Thomas was Harrison's only son. When he fell sick, he was devastated. Story has it he became obsessed with him getting better. When things took a turn for the worst, he took up hunting and taxidermy as a hobby to ease his mind. Well, that explains the basement. Danny and I found a bunch of stuffed animals down there." "Why, though, would they leave it there and not clean it out with the rest of the house?" Sarah asked. "I'm not sure. Nobody said anything about stuffed animals in the basement," Tracy said, puzzled. "Yeah, there are a dozen of them at least down there. It scared Danny half to death." "Well, that's the thing. Once Thomas fell past the point of return, Harrison sort of gave up. He stayed in the basement tending to his hobbies almost all of the time. His wife complained about it all the time. Everyone knew. Toward the end, Harrison was a different person. He went into town weekly and bought an unusual amount of raw meat." "Raw meat?" Sarah asked. "Yes, hundreds of dollars worth. It was just odd behavior. He was pale and dirty. He hardly spoke. The farm went to hell. Then one night, Mrs. Harrison called the local sheriff and told him that he wouldn't come out of the basement. She said he wouldn't answer her, and she smelled something terrible." "Odd," Sarah softly spoke. "That's not the worst of it. She told the sheriff that Thomas went missing. He wasn't in his bed, and she couldn't get Harrison out of the basement to inform him." "What happened?" That's where the story ends with the Harrison family. The sheriff showed up an hour or so later, and they were gone. "Wait, gone? I don't understand," Sarah said, confused. "Yes, gone. Just like that. All their stuff was still here. The lights were on. There was food on the table. It was like they disappeared off the face of the earth. They went into the basement and found nothing. The beds were made. All of their clothes were still there. Truck in front of the house. It was unlike anything they'd seen." "Did they find out anything at all?" "They interviewed everyone that knew them. Nobody knew anything. The Harrisons and their 2 children were never heard from again. It's Portland's biggest mystery," Tracy said. "Why didn't Julia mention this?" "She said she knew Thomas well," Sarah said. "I'm sure she didn't want to scare you. I figured you should know. Sorry. I mean, it's a case of disappearance, not a gruesome murder or something, if that helps. Harrison probably forced them to leave suddenly." "That's everyone's best guess," Tracy said. "I'm glad you were honest with me. Please don't mention this to Danny. It's the last thing he needs." "No, I won't. I'm sorry to spook you. Let's get to something more positive, yes? This is why we're here. I'm glad you moved here. We all are. This is going to be a good thing for our community," Tracy cheerfully spoke, laughing lightly. "Yeah, sure. I think I'll ditch the glass now and drink from the wine bottle," Sarah said. They all started laughing and stood up. Danny, who was sitting at the top of the stairs, stood up. He had been listening in. Pretending oblivious to the situation, he made his way down the stairs. "Danny, we would love to have you in the interview as well. Is that okay?" Tracy asked, looking at both of them. "Sure," he said. "Perfect. Tony has the equipment in the news van. He'll go grab what we need. I have my notes right here. Do you mind if I freshen up in the bathroom?" Tracy asked. "No, go right ahead," Sarah said, pointing her towards the downstairs bathroom. Tony made his way outside to the van. The clouds had become thick in the short time they were there. As he approached, he felt small rain droplets hit his arms. He looked up at the unforgiving sky that was now promising rain. "There goes the drought segment," he thought to himself and chuckled. Tracy would be relieved. Keys, car, masks, 3 stars, all living Arnold, calm, chair, desk, chills. He opened the side door and started to gather his usual equipment when a loud squawking startled him. He stood up fast and his head hit the door frame. Grabbing at the throbbing sensation on his head, he turned around to face the sound. A flock of crows had shot up from the wheat field. He met the gaze of the scarecrow hanging on the wooden cross. He shivered as he fixed his stare. It was facing his direction, and it almost looked like it was watching him. There was something about the way it was hanging. It looked as if it was hunched forward slightly, like it was trying to move, but stopped. "I hate scarecrows," he said to himself as he continued gathering his equipment. As he turned to leave, he reached to the center cup holder to grab his water bottle when he noticed the wire to the van's CB was disconnected. "What the hell?" he said, holding the wire up closer. The frayed tips were jagged and stripped. He didn't remember it being broken. The truck's checkoff made no mention of a faulty CB. Tony hasn't noticed, as he rarely checks the trucks off. The team hardly used them anyway. He would make a note later. Loud thunder cracked across the sky. He picked up his pace as he went back to the farmhouse to avoid getting wet. He made it just in time. The sky opened up mere moments after he stepped inside. It was now pouring out. Out of breath, he closed the door behind him. "It's coming down," he yelled to them as he made his way back into the living room. Sarah walked over to the window with Tracy right behind her. She peered out into the gray, wet air. Rain was falling in thin, long drops onto the earth below, already forming small puddles at the base of the house. Wind was blowing in the field's wheat, left in strong gusts. The scarecrow was blowing and rocking alongside with it. It looked like it was dancing in the rain. Tony wobbled over after them and peered out as well. He noticed the scarecrow facing the house. He looked over to the right side of the field and saw the van slightly rocking. He had remembered the scarecrow facing him in the van. Clearly, it was facing the house now. Had the wind blown the cross that hard? "Wow, where did this come from?" Tracy asked, surprised. "Damn CB is busted," Tony said. "Well, use your cell. Let Arnold know there may be a delay getting back." "Sarah, I'm sorry to impose, but would you mind if we waited out the storm once the interview is over?" Tracy asked. "No, not at all," Sarah said. ToMmY, a Portland, Maine series, by Medicman, Part 3. Well, folks, that's our story tonight. Rotherick and I hope you enjoyed it. We sure had a great time bringing it to you, and we really appreciate you listening. Tune in next week when we bring you another chilling Tales from the Dark Chamber. And just a note, if you're an aspiring author and want your story read here on Tales from the Dark Chamber, send us a note at talesfromthedarkchamber@gmail.com. If it creeps old Rotherick out enough, we'll air it. And subscribe to our channel here for notification of our next new episode, and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember, hit that like button and help us grow the channel. Also, make sure you tell your friends about us. Spread the word. If you want your story recorded for your own use, or just want to have it, check out my website at woodygvoiceover.net. You can order there. And again, thank you for listening tonight.